Welcome, Representative Fisher, obviously. Would you like to move your, well, actually, House File 3908 is, I'll move to lay it over for possible inclusion. And if you would like, I will move your D2 amendment for you to get the bill in the shape that you would like.
Please, Mr. Chair, I would appreciate that.
I'll move that the, for adoption of the DE2 amendment. Anybody, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the amendment's adopted. Members, we're working off the DE2. Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Committee. I appreciate the opportunity to present 3908. This is a continuation of the work to create the One Watershed concept. This is a concept that I became familiar with when I first started a few years ago. I was given the Minnesota Water Sustainability Framework Handbook, which deals with a lot of the water issues that we have throughout the state. And one of the big things that kind of came out through here is that there were a lot of parts of our process that did not allow things to flow seamlessly together. Water in our state is not just surface water or groundwater. It's all one water that mixes together. But so often, so many of the laws that we had and statutes did not allow that to flow very well together. And also, it did not create a great opportunity to have different governmental agencies working together. One of the things that I know that when we were going through it is that the current Clean Water Act, the current laws that are statutes that Bowser has, basically focuses on surface waters and only impaired surface waters. And the problem is that it ignores a lot of other issues that we have out there. It ignores our groundwater. It ignores our waters that are still high quality. It ignores waters that are slowly becoming impaired, but that does not allow us to start addressing things in those areas. Also, the way that there was the fragmentation occurring, it made a very complicated process. And so as a result, some of the things that this bill is going to do is allows the streamlining of the entities working together to help solve the issues, bringing people together under one umbrella, provides more flexibility in how we approach the implementation to make sure that as plans are being put together to protect our waters, it's protecting all waters, and also making sure that all the appropriate agencies are brought in together. And one of the things that we know is that water does not follow legislative or political boundaries. Water just does not stop flowing when it hits a city at the edge of a city. It continues flowing and follows a watershed. And so this helps bring that together, takes the next step in the process to streamline what we're trying to do. One of the things that we do know is that it's been a very complicated process because the current statute refers to federal law, and federal law only allows us to deal with waters that are impaired and only surface waters. And so one of the complicated parts of this bill that we have in front of us is to make sure that we're still keeping those protections in there, but being able to decouple it in a way so that we can fold in the protections and making the plans that we do to protect our waters more broad so that we will be protecting the groundwaters, developing plans that will protect waters that are still high quality and also waters that are starting to become impaired but are not currently listed as impaired. Some of the things that I also want to make sure that we keep in mind as we go through here is we have also worked hard to broaden the process to make sure that we still have good public input, and not only from the public, but making sure that all the different government and tribal agencies are being involved in it, and making sure that all the different interest groups that we have out there and the public have got an opportunity in providing input and having their concerns addressed as we move through the process. And so that is an area that we did beef up a bit in the area. Another area that we know is an issue is non-point priority funding. We have a lot of non-point sources out there, and there's never been a real thought-out process of what does that look like? How do we set priorities when we're putting funding into sources that will help clean up and address issues around non-point issues? And one of the things that we realize is this is a very complex issue, is going to require a lot of time, so it puts a work group together to start getting at these kind of process to find out what is the best way to set up priority funding when we're doing allocation of funds down the road, particularly when we're taking a look at RAPs and some of the other issues that we use out there. What I'd like to do is I just wanted to touch on some bigger, broader issues. What I also want to do is turn it over to some very smart people who work on the ground on these issues on a daily basis. And I'd like them to be able to provide some testimony as how this process is going to be more efficient for them, how it's going to allow them to be more effective out there. And so at this point, Mr. Chair, I'd like to be able to introduce it to my testifiers.
Proceed. Yes, go ahead. Ms. Buck, welcome.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Can you now? Yep.
There we go. Good morning. My name is Leanne Buck. I'm the Executive Director for the Minnesota Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. And our association, in part with the members that are here today, we're part of what we call ourselves the Local Government Water Roundtable. And so we have been, obviously my leadership training has always told me the collaborative process is the best process. So it's a proud opportunity to collaborate with our other local government partners. So what we look at is, as an association, we support House File 3908. It provides for modifications that allows my soil and water district members to move beyond just assessing and planning to accelerating actions and best management practices on the landscape. So for us, that's what we would do. That's what we want to do, and we want to move forward to continue to look at that implementation of those activities. As a member of the original G16 that took place back in 2003, we were formed. It was a diverse coalition of the state, local government, environmental, agricultural community, everybody. And through that process, what we were looking at is addressing federal Clean Water Act requirements and the implications for Minnesota. And I'd also like to acknowledge Ray Bone back in the day with the Minnesota Association of Watershed Districts, who was another local government partner that was right there hand in hand with everyone. The driving force back in 2003 and 2006 were TMDLs. There were lawsuits, there were litigation, and again, it was an issue that was complicated and there was some redundancies. So what we looked at is we went through a progression of state policies. So between the passage of the Clean Water Legacy Act, the constitutional amendment, the state-led effort called RAPS, Watershed Restoration Protection Strategies. Again, those policies, and there's been an evolution as we continue to address some of these issues. At the same time, then we saw as local government the need to continue to partner and look at how we can better do work at the local level. And for us, that created policy called the One Watershed, One Plan. And again, we're in the early phases of that. We have five pilots that are being done, and it's continuing to grow and move and have a collaborative effort when we're looking locally. But also what it does is bringing science that the MPCA and other agencies have. So we have that information and that as we look at our strategies. So again, before you, this bill before you today is acknowledging those previous policies, and it also moves us to removing redundancies. But for me, it's about empowering local governments to the boots on the ground, to continue to engage the citizens, work together on activities, and also blend those components of federal government, state government, and local government so we can, again, do it in a collaborative effort to address some of our water quality issues. So to me, this is a bill that looks at continuous improvement of our existing policies that had a heavy emphasis, obviously back in 2003 with surface water. So we know we need to move into other areas, but again, this is a continuous improvement bill for us.
Thank you. The new Ray Bowen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Chair Fabian, members. My name is Emily Javins. I am the Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of Watershed Districts. I've been in that role for just a few months. Before that, I was the administrator of the Yellow Medicine River Watershed District, and I was one of those pilots. And of course, when you work on a pilot, you find out what works really well and what works not so well. And we were able to identify a few things that could be improved, and those things that could be improved are in this bill. One of the things was the state came in and they worked on the watershed restoration and protection strategy, like Leanne talked about, the RAPS. That was great. It was great to have the MPCA come in. They did some science that was beyond what we could do out there on our own. They built a model for us and told us where our impairments were. And that was great. At the end of that, they were required to do some citizen engagement and ask the citizens, what waters do you care about the most and what are you willing to do about it? Then they put together a table of what we should do to fix the water. Well, then we started the One Watershed, One Plan, And we had to do the same thing. We had to ask those same citizens, what waters do you care about the most, and what are you willing to do about it? They had just been asked this, and so that you could see there was some overlap there. And then we really sat down and decided what will we do to fix these waters, and came up with a strategy. The strategy that's in the RAPs, we won't ever look at that again, to be honest with you, but we are invested in the one that we created locally through our really intense stakeholder involvement. And it's a flexible. The MPCA actually built the tool for us that we can continue to change those strategies. So let's say the next farm bill comes out and you just absolutely can't not put cover crops in. We can run that model and say, what would happen to our water if we had cover crops on 30% of the land out there? And we can find out how that would react. So we have this great model. We have great tools to do that. But we did do it twice. And now the RAPS is done, and they're getting ready to come back and do it again, because it says in law that every 10 years you have to go through this cycle. Representative Swedzinski, you live out there. How much of the land use do you think is going to change in the last few years? Not necessarily a lot, not so much that we would have to rerun that model and redo it. So there is not necessarily a good reason to redo all of that science. And so this bill also allows some flexibility to look at it and say, you know what, let's just do what needs to be done. And if there isn't a lot that's needed, let's not do it. And we also, what this will allow, instead of getting trapped in planning, we can move to implementation. We have brought in a lot of federal dollars just recently, 2 large grants to now move straight into putting projects on the ground. And we're pretty excited because Lake Shakatan out there just came off the impaired waters list, and our strategy is then to add best management practices in those areas right downstream of Lake Shakatan and try and clean up that stream that's red on the map, because that's impaired. But we've got clean water coming out of Shakatan. We've got a strategy. We've got money. We want to go, and we want to stop being so tied down to repetitive planning, especially when it's not necessary and it's overlapping. So that's what we see as the best benefit of this, and we ask for your support on this House file.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Jennifer Bergquam, Policy Analyst for the Association of Minnesota Counties, and also representing the Minnesota County and Zoning Administrators today. Counties also support House File 3908 and would like to thank Representative Fisher for bringing this bill forward. We also thank Chair Fabian and committee members this morning for taking time to hear the bill. We greatly appreciate the partnerships with SWCDs and watershed districts and concur with their comments this morning. And also those comments that Representative Fisher made. He clearly has great background in water issues, so thank you for your work on this bill. Counties particularly support sections 1 and 2 of the bill to ensure that resources will be available to local governments to implement coordinated water management plans and facilitate on-the-ground projects to improve and enhance our state's water resources. And I think my previous testifiers did a great job pointing out some of the other aspects of this bill and the positive points, and we just would ask for your support this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you. Member, questions? Representative Wagenius.
What I hear and what I
You've forgotten your microphone.
What I hear and what I read seem to be different, so let's just talk about that for a minute. What I hear from you is that we need to look at both groundwater and surface water together, and I, of course, agree with that. And I hear that you want to bring in science. It's terrific. I hear that you want to get rid of repetitive planning. What I didn't hear is about some of the stuff I'm reading in here is getting rid of outcomes. And instead of having performance-based standards, you just want to get rid of that. So when we started with clean water money, one of the things we talked about was measuring, because you can't manage what you don't measure. And we talked about outcomes, and we talked about performance. And I looked at some of the language, like on page 1, line 121. you're getting rid of performance-based. I look at line 2.3, and you're saying performance-based or eligibility criteria. Well, eligibility criteria could be, we're going to have 5 teenagers on the stakeholder group. That, the or is big. I looked at section 7, 3.14. It says, instead of achieve and maintain, now we're adding the word pursue. So that means process. We're going back to the bad old days. Just process. I looked at page 4, and we're just information, 4.4, information to support. Not outcomes, not performance, just information. So at that point, I kind of gave up reading here. It troubles me a lot that we're not using measurements, and we're just saying we want to do projects. We're not saying we're going to measure our outcomes in the law. So we're getting rid of that. And I think we're going backwards. So I hear one thing and I'm seeing another.
Representative Fisher.
I'll start tackling parts of that. And first of all, when we're taking a look at parts 1 and pages 1 and 2 through there, part of what this is addressing is the eligibility to address situations that come up on a very quick basis. Sometimes there's situations where a disaster has occurred, severe erosion is occurring. This gives the flexibility to be able to address those kind of situations with a little bit more flexibility and being a little bit more nimble in those areas. The other sessions, I know that as we're talking about evaluations, those have been moved into the different sections, and I'm looking for my notes as to where we moved them to, where we were expanding the evaluation process further on. And I believe, and I'm looking down around 5.2, and I think, where is, if I can get my phone a friend here too. Okay, 6.1 is expanded waters.
Good morning.
Mr. Chair, members.
Yep.
Angie Becker-Kadelka, Assistant Director with the Board of Water and Soil Resources.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair and members, I think as I heard the question about performance-based, this is the performance-based discussion in here on page 1 was to address exactly what Representative Fisher said, that there are times when the legislature appropriates a grant based on something else, so based on a formula. For example, the buffer cost share was based on, some in the CREP area and some outside of the CREP area. And so that would be a case that would not be a performance-based case. Performance-based is key and critical to one watershed, one plan, funding, and others. And so it's not that performance-based goes away. And I think the part, Representative Wagenius, that you were talking to on 1.21, with that strikeout was a technical or mechanical strikeout to keep it at the same level, because this is just talking about all-inclusive for an advanced basis. So that was just to clean it up to match 1.5.
Thank you. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think the delete all is better than the first version. Following up on Representative Wagenius, one of my concerns is on 3.13, where restoration means actions including effectiveness monitoring that are taken to achieve and maintain water quality. So is there anywhere else in kind of this bedrock statute where the words effectiveness monitoring appear?
Testifiers.
Mr. Chair and members, so this again, this was a technical correction because this is in the definition of restoration. And so it's taking restoration and having it read clearer, and then a monitoring is put back in 4.16. And so 4.16 says to systematically evaluate waters that provide assistant incentives to prepare waters from becoming impaired. So it's added back in a place that is more inclusive than just restoration, it includes protection.
Representative Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so from the agency's perspective, evaluating waters includes effectiveness monitoring.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
members, yes.
And Mr. Chair, maybe as this moves on, that might be something just to put a clause in there. I'd feel a little more comfortable, but that, I have a larger question just in general on, to the testifiers. You know, I think the question of process is legitimate. We're now 10 years past the passage of the constitutional amendment. We're 12 years past clean water legacy. And I think Minnesotans want to make sure that we're actually cleaning up impaired waters and that we're preventing further degradation. So does this actually do that? Or are we shuffling process around here? Do we actually get towards cleanup is the first to better water quality, let's put it that way. Does this get us to better water quality? And then two, which is the conundrum question, what do we do? I mean, I think this assumes that all locals are awesome, that everybody's working great, and we know that with human nature, that's not always the outcome, that not everything's always awesome. So what do you do where maybe local governments don't want to do something? How do you get folks either because of their ability or willingness or financial resources will not do the tasks necessary or the projects necessary to implement water quality protection?
Couple, 2 or 3 questions there to the testifiers. Representative Fisher.
Well, I'll let my testifiers go first, and
Okay,
I'll do
thank
some
you.
follow-up.
Mr. Chair,
Right.
Representative Hanson. One of the things about local government is local autonomy, and I was recently at a county commissioner meeting and in the metropolitan area, and they said one county is like a large, you've seen one county, you've seen them all, or you haven't seen them all, because it is that uniqueness. So where I see the strength of one watershed, one plan is not having specific one entity being responsible for one thing only. So this collaborative effort is learning and understanding. There's that theory of, give a man a fish, they eat for a day. Teach them to fish, they'll, eat for a lifetime. And so going through the one watershed, one planning process has accelerated the understanding and the diversity at the local level, as well as bringing that science and that information we didn't have at the local level. We're not scientists at the local, and we're not going to pretend to be. At the same time, the scientists at some of the agencies in St. Paul's probably aren't the implementers. So again, we're trying to bridge those factors. So can I promise you that everybody's going to do everything at the same time? I'll be honest, probably not. But what I am looking at is more of a solid foundation of sharing of information and resources among local governments, and then to utilize the state agencies' expertise where they have that, and how to do that as we transition into working with landowners across the state. So I wish I had a pure answer for you, and it's a fair question. But again, we're continuing to ramp it up, and that's why we're supportive of the One Watershed, One Plan. And again, previous to this, all of this was focused on TMDLs. And so I think the uniqueness too is we've got a lot of protection strategies. You get into Coochin County, you get into Crow Wing County, and you look at the efforts there, the locals are saying we want to go beyond just a TMDL effort.
Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a fair concern because there are some areas that may be resistant to not wanting to do their part. That's one of the problems that we have out there. That was a problem that was existing before this bill came along. It's a problem that we were not able to address at this point in time. What we are doing is taking a step right now to expand out. This bill was not able to address every single problem out there, but another step in the process. It's like when the One Watershed was first created a few years ago. That was the first step in the process. There are going to be many more steps that we'll have to go through as we go down the road. This is not something that is a panacea that's going to cure all at one time, but the continuation of an evolution of a process as we learn more that we can implement as we go forward. So this is not the last bill that will ever address this. We're going to have more work that we do as we go down the road. But because of the complexities of some of those issues, we'd like to move along where we've got some agreement on and then come back and continue to work on the areas where there's still disagreement and when there's controversy so that we don't ignore those in the process.
Panacea, okay. Ms. Javens?
One thing I want to remind you of, too, is that the One Watershed, One Plan is based on that prioritized target measure, and you absolutely have to measure, measure, measure. And now when we're moving the grants to the not competitive anymore, and because we've gone through the hard work, the money is coming right into our watershed, we have to prove that we are working hard. And let me tell you, Bowser does keep very good track of how well we are doing, and it's very performance-based. And so I feel like that really we have been very accountable. And Representative Wagenius, I wanted to correct one thing that you mentioned on line 4.4, where we took out the implementation table and used information to support. That is in the RAPS, when I talked about how they put together that large strategy table and then we redid it. That's saying, let the MPCA do the science that really empowers us to then figure out what the implementation is going to be. So that is why we cleaned up that sentence, was to have them kind of stop at the science, turn over implementation to the locals. That was the intention of that.
Thank you. Representative Eklund?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, Mr. Chair, about probably 20 years ago, I worked with the Minnesota Resource Council on starting to develop forestry landscape plans. So I'm wondering on section 12, subdivision 5, about line
Page.
5.32, page 5, Mr. Chair. If the author would accept a friendly amendment to add the Minnesota Forest Resource Council as one of the groups to be an active member when preparing the RAPs and TMDLs.
I'm sorry, what's the line number on that again?
On page 5, section 12, subdivision 5, 5.32.
I
Fisher?
would be open to that. What we're trying to do is make sure that we've got as many people as possible of the groups involved with this. I'd be open to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I just, the Minnesota Forest Resource Council has been active in working on these watershed and landscape plans, so I'd appreciate that, Mr. Chair.
Is there someone here from the council that wants to?
Yes, there is, Mr. Chair.
Yep, oh, okay. Denise?
Mr. Chair, Deanne Stidham,
Morning.
Executive Director of the Minnesota Forest Resource Council. As Mr. Eklund noted, the work that the Forest Resource Council does relative to forest disturbance is a very important component of not only our landscape plans, but our research and applied research work that we do, particularly on forest disturbance and distinguishing between perennial and annual crop cover. It is a very important element of water quality. And oftentimes, we somewhat just talk about forest disturbance in a generic sense, and the research that we do work on has a very huge role in RAPS and One Watershed plan. So we appreciate the ability of our council to fold in formally the work that we do to their efforts, and it's an area that we'll be working on quite a bit in the coming years. So I think this would be a great fit for the applied research we do related to water and forest disturbance, and forests are one of the best filters for our watershed. So we think that it's a very important element for our state. And Mr. Chair, if there's any specific questions, I'm happy to answer that.
Representative Eklund? Okay. To this point? Okay, Representative Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, this is being held over for possible inclusion, so I think it would be wise to think about wordsmithing this, because I want to make sure that this is a must clause, and so there may be areas of the state where the Forest Resource Council may not be needed, so it should be something where it's applicable. So if Representative Eklund and you could work together, if you're open to that, and Ms. Taylor, to make sure that we get it right if we want to put this in, and with the author.
Sure. We'll continue working on this. Representative Fisher and Eklund and Ms. Taylor. And before we move on, members, I would like to get Paul Nelson down here. And I know Representative Wagenius, you're on the list. And we'll circle back to you. And then Director Becker-Kudelka, I'd like to get your official testimony on this. You answered some questions and phone a friend. Good morning.
Morning.
Identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members. I'm Paul Nelson. I'm the Environmental Services Program Manager for Scott County, and I'm here on behalf of Scott County and myself to say that we support this legislation. I'm going to go off script for about a minute and to Representative Hansen's questions in terms of, will this bill help us get to water quality? And I would say yes, because of the alignment in the planning and the flexibility that provides us locally. I can have my staff dedicate more time to getting things on the ground rather than writing things and doing plans. Secondly, where locals don't want to do things. I've talked with a number of you. I've been in this business for 35 years, 15 years of that in sort of the planning and the study side of this, more recently, the last 20 in implementing. And most recently, looking really into the social aspects of doing water quality by landowners themselves. And in that question of when people don't really want to do things, what I find in my experiences, and this is more out in research, is that, people don't get up in the morning and say, okay, today I'm going to go pollute. Yeehaw. That's not what they do. The things that control whether or not they implement are, one, have they been asked by someone they trust? A plan doesn't necessarily motivate them to do something. Being asked does, especially by someone they trust. My staff, we need the time to work with people to develop that kind of trust. Second thing that they need is belief. They need to believe that their hard work will make a difference. Again, that comes from implementation, seeing things work, seeing water quality change, and so forth. Third, they need to believe that they have the ability. It fits within their business plan. It fits within what they want to do with their property. That's, again, where my staff comes in, SWCD staff comes in, some of the financial assistance to help people with the financial assistance to do it, to provide that technical assistance to be able to have that belief that they can. It also comes from seeing their neighbors implement. You get a little bit of momentum when they see other people doing stuff and they start to believe, my neighbor can do it, I can do it. And then lastly, and I forgot.
You took the same memory improvement class that I did.
That's a problem with going off script. But I would say that I don't worry particularly overly with the people who don't immediately get on board. I work with the people who get on board and through them convert others. And so this flexibility, this ability to implement through the process so far, you've invested hundreds of millions of dollars in plans from the Clean Water Fund. And I think previous testifiers said this best. This is an evolution. This is a learning process. This is the next step to better align things to go forward and do better for water quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Your testimony is spot on. I've said many, many times you can accomplish a lot more with a cup of coffee and a carrot than you can with a club. And I think that we've seen that in some of the things that we've done here in the last few years that you mentioned landowners trusting agencies and so forth, absolutely critical and essential. And there's a lot of distrust out there in rural Minnesota now. Mr. Nelson.
I was just going to add, I've said this at the Senate, and people looked at me a little weird, but my best tool is a thank you card.
Very well said. Thank you. Ms. Becker-Kadelka.
Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Members, again, for the record, Angie Becker-Kadelka, Assistant Director with the Board of Water and Soil Resources.
Proceed.
Mr. Chair and members, just in summary, House File 3908 provides process improvements to achieve coordinated watershed management, and Bowser supports the author's delete all. Minnesota's model of conservation delivery is really locally led conservation. And the experts that you heard from today, the counties and the watershed districts and the soil and watershed districts, are the ones out there that are trying to work with all of these different processes. Bowser every year travels around the state to hear from our local government partners about what's working and maybe more importantly, what's not and what can work better. And this is what we've heard consistently across the state has been planning fatigue, study fatigue, public confusion, and it's around process and not around content. And so what this really does is this bill looks to better align data, analysis, planning, and implementation to get to cleaner water faster. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Wagenius.
Thank you. I hear some words and I read something differently, but just in sum, it seems like if you get rid of performance-based grants, and you're getting rid of the outcomes from individual grants, and saying we're going to test waters in the end, and that's our measurement, then we have no way of knowing which things were effective and which things were not effective, because we are piling the effective things together with the things that are not effective or marginally effective. So we will have no way of knowing how taxpayers' dollars are being, whether taxpayers' dollars are being spent effectively or not. So if you're going to go this route, it does seem to me we have to have some ways of measuring that are not in here, because otherwise, we have now kind of thrown the baby of measurement out. We've just thrown it out. This is like, feels like 10 years of work, and it's just evaporated. So, Mr. Chair, I think as you're looking for wordsmithing, let's not, in the name of flexibility, let's not lose our ability to measure what works and what doesn't work.
Comments, testifiers.
Mr. Chair, Representative Wagenius, I agree with you wholeheartedly that performance and performance management and measurement is critical in the evolution. And so I agree completely. This bill does not take away performance-based, and in fact, the agency still uses that as a primary mechanism by which to provide, especially with competitive grants, and to assess the effectiveness of those dollars that have been appropriated out to our local government partners. This, the additional language in here doesn't take away any standards or any responsibilities. It provides for when we are appropriated dollars that should be formula-driven. So based on the number of miles in a certain area, for cost share dollars, for example, or a set amount of dollars that go out based on a legislation. This is being inclusive of that we don't do an additional process before we get those dollars out the door. And I agree with you that performance-based and measurement is key. It's critical to moving ahead. And so this bill does not diminish any current authorities or standards.
Any other questions, members? So, okay. Representative Clark Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would like to ask a question. Ms. Becker-Kadelka, you talked about you've heard across the state, and my compliments. I know you guys do listen, and I agree with the local control efforts. Have you heard from across the state that there's a desire to remove the performance-based focus of the current law?
Ms. Becker-Kadelka.
Mr. Chair and members, we have heard, and I think the testifiers, the Association of Minnesota Counties, as Ms. Bergquam alluded to, there have been situations, and this is in section 1 and 2, where local governments have been slowed down or with these base dollars that are sometimes very tiny amounts of base dollars, like in the natural resource block grant. So it's a base amount of money that goes out the door. And that when that money goes out the door, all of the performance-based measures that go with it before the money goes out the door don't make sense to tie with, in some cases, a few $1,000s for a specific project or program that's already been established in statute. And so it's not that that performance base still isn't important. It's just segmenting out some of those base appropriations that Bowser has that we must give out based on already pre-existing formulas.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, with that, House File 3908, as amended, is laid over for possible inclusion, and the work will continue with Representative Fisher and Eklund and Wagenius.